Welcome to Research Matters, an online show that is all about communicating the research taking place at NUST in efforts to promote the university's research agenda and the impact thereof.
Welcome back to Research and Innovation Matters right here at NUST. This is Season 4, Episode 2 with Nigel and Unda.
Now, today our guest is Professor Teresia Kaulihowa. She is our Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Teaching, Learning and Technology here at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. In this role, she leads the university's commitment to teaching excellence, student success, and a responsive, future-focused academic experience. Her portfolio oversees academic programs, standards, and policies, as well as integration of technology, e-learning across teaching and learning assessment. In this episode, we will explore what it takes to prepare graduates who are work-ready, adaptable, equipped to contribute to Namibia's development, and why teaching excellence is not separate from research and innovation, but one of the strongest drivers of national impact. Now, to kick off this conversation, Prof, if I'm not mistaken, you are either only or the first professor of economics as a female in Namibia. Is that true?
That's correct.
Well, now tell us about the journey in your academic or research portfolio.
Oh, okay. Thank you. From if I now move to me being an economist, or in particular to be that has become the first professor of economics in the country, really the research journey or what it takes for one to become a professor, it's really a combination of a number of things. It's a combination of your teaching, the number of years in teaching. It's a combination of your research that you have done for the community, making impact in the community, and also the research that contributes to teaching quality, and also then essentially your community service. So the combinations of those three defines what kind of professor you become, and then your solid impact in a society, in short.
All right, now, Prof, you recently joined the Office of the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Teaching, Learning and Technology. Now, in layman's terms, what would you describe your office to do? What is the core function for the ordinary Namibian person? What does that office do?
Okay, so yes, as a new Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Teaching, Learning and Technology, you will have to appreciate that the teaching and learning divisions lies at the critical of the university mandate, which is to create knowledge. And the teaching and learning unit really, for a simple man in a street, is that it determines the what and how part as far as teaching and learning is concerned. In terms of what, that is more to say, what kind of curriculum are we going to offer as a university? It also determines what kind of content are we going to deliver to the students. And the how part, it then has to do with pedagogies. How are we going to deliver the content? And the how part, again, how are we going to design the assessment that it comes with teaching and learning? So it really just encompasses the entire learning process of the students when they join the university. And it's a critical part to really the employers and then to students themselves, because it's an area whereby we are going to determine what kind of graduate are we putting in a market. Essentially, sometimes you realize that the community sometimes out there, they see teaching and learning as an internal to the university. But teaching and learning, it's really a national development issue because the graduate we produce, they are the future leaders, so it will really determine what kind of skills that you will have for tomorrow. It will also determine the quality of institutions we build for tomorrow. Thank you.
Now, talking about the type of graduates that we produce, I think there's this notion or there's this news that travels around, specifically around graduation time, that the graduates of whatever institution are not work ready. what sort of graduates are we producing? I think so. My question comes to more to the fact that with those complaints about work-ready graduates, what is the problem? What can we fix as a university? And what are some of the things that are beyond us? What can't we fix?
Okay, so you are correct. Those concerns do come up a number of times. But what we have to understand is that as a university, we cannot solve all the problems that are facing our graduates.
Very true.
So it's more like a collective effort coming from all the stakeholders in the entire ecosystem.
Yes.
So as a university, of course, we can fix a great deal of some of those issues. Let's say we are clearly responsible for the quality of curriculums that we deliver. And you remember that in delivering or in designing that curriculum, we co-create it with the industry.
Yeah.
So essentially, one will then expect that if we co-create it with the industry, by the time the product go out there, it should then be in tandem with what the industry demand. That is one aspect. The other aspect is also that the curriculum needs to be aligned to the industry type of work. So if you have a graduate, then you should have requisites kind of competency that is required in the industry. How will you then build it in? As a university, we can build it in through partnerships, whereby we create partnerships with the industry for them then to be part of our program development, program advisory boards to enrich the curriculum. We also build it in with partnership through work integrated learning. And our cooperative education, it's really into that task to ensure that all our undergraduate programs which is your work integrated learning, it's really part and parcel of the curriculum. And there you can then transform just from class to the work environment. What we cannot do alone when it comes to graduate employability is then the broader aspect of the labor market.
Yep.
For instance, if the economy it's not dynamic enough to produce opportunities for interns to go there and get quality internship activities, then that will affect the graduate that eventually goes in the market. Again, if the economy is not growing enough to produce or maybe to have a conducive environment to create graduate jobs or perhaps opportunities for startups of our graduates, you'll find that whether you have a solid grounded student, then they'll struggle to be absorbed because of that external environment which is outside the control of academia. You'll then see that it requires really a combination of players, both the university, the industry, and the government to provide that conducive environment for the players in that particular space. So we then, in this, for us to be able to create, to more like produce a well-grounded graduate, so we call in the industry players to come on board to ensure that they really offer quality internship to our students and also for them to contribute to our program development through program advisory board. Okay.
I think that is such a great initiative that you've spoken about now in terms of just partnering with industry to make sure that the programs that we're offering are relevant to the Namibia economy and not just academically correct on paper. Do you know how people always say, oh, they offer this at NUST, but it's the opportunities after that program is offered. But now I want us to look at rent that pays in terms of your office. Episode 1, we sort of looked at research that pays rent, and now I just want to further ask, how do you ensure in your capacity that research shows up in teaching so that students are able to learn what is current and useful at the moment?
Okay, certainly yes, research does pay rent. And you realize that in all our teachings at NUST, research is part of our pedagogical approach to ensure that our teaching and our assessment incorporate it. So there are practical pathways whereby we do incorporate it. It usually comes in through, let's say, project-based assessments, although it can also come in through industry kind of environment whereby students can go to the industry and solve real life problems, and then you assess them through that. And essentially our lecturers, when they go to classrooms and teach, they do incorporate the aspect of their teaching, also fully incorporate research, because we cannot isolate the two. It becomes a pedagogical component in terms of teaching, delivery, and also in terms of assessment.
Okay. Now, I keep hearing this word pedagogical. What does it mean?
So
for everyday viewer out there.
It's essentially an approach that you use for teaching. Sometimes you hear things like a student-centered approach. That is one way. So it's student-centered, it's focused into the student, what they can, how you deliver the content, and also for them, how they can apply it practically and move more away from theoretical aspects and just building the applied benefits.
Yeah.
And then how is this then linking to NUST's e-learning platforms, and I guess just beyond just uploading notes onto the platform?
In terms of e-learning, it really has to be seen, how do you see e-learning? As a university, or perhaps as NUST, we don't see e-learning as a process of just uploading materials on the platform. E-learning should be effective to enhance student success. If you see it from that angle, then the e-learning should be such that students should be able to use the digital learning platforms before class, during class, and after class through their learning process. And at the same time, the lecturer should also be able then to track process and the progress of those students, and also trigger early alerts, and then for you to track the students' progress, so that early interventions can be done should there be some students that are lagging behind. So it should really encompass all the learning stage, and the lecturer should also be able to track progress of those students and also capture participations of those students. And it's not really simply just to put content digitally, but it's more than that.
Yeah. Now, Prof, pardon me, what are some of the risks that we have seen with the digital learning at NUST, and how are we managing it?
Thank you for that. In terms of risk, when we talk about risk in digital space, sometimes people think about perhaps technological failure. They will think about cyber securities and the like. But for me personally, currently, especially in the context of Namibia, the key risk is inequality, whereby you have, if you don't have access, then we will enter in a new era whereby you are disadvantaging some group of segment of the market. So that inequality is critical for us, because the entire e-learning ecosystem, it has the university, it has the lecturer delivering the content, and it has the students. But then at times the students are not brought in the board in terms of access to digital devices, in terms of connectivity, just also the broader access for them to fully utilize e-learning. So if you don't have that in place, and that is really the key risk, because then your e-learning will not enhance students' success. And that is critical when we develop these e-learning mechanisms. Thank you.
And I think that goes also into our next question with regard to credibility of assessment. How does that take then place within the online e-learning platforms?
In terms of credibility of assessment, that really talks to integrity of the students that we we graduate. Essentially, at the university, when you talk about integrity of the student, it's not just about assessment. It's about what you send to the market.
Yes.
Are you sending students that will uphold the integrity, be it at the university or be it at the workplace? I remember there was a time that I was attending a course at UCT, and then they were trying to see the integrity of their students. And they did a study whereby they put money in the envelope, many envelopes, and then they dropped them on different dates at different spots where students like to hang out. And then there's also an address there. There's my number and all the likes. And then if you pick it, will you return
it to the owner
or not?
Oh my soul.
So they'll then say that I know that would I like to sit in that corner to have lunch, I'm going to drop it there. So if I drop there, then see, will they return it? Will they call the number and return it? And that is really just testing the integrity of our students to see, are they really responsible citizens?
What was the finding? I'm quite intrigued.
When are you dropping some of those envelopes, specifically in my office?
Will you return it?
Let's see.
Maybe we'll do a study for next.
Yes, please.
So that is really the whole idea, that it's not really just about assessment.
Yeah.
But when it comes to teaching and learning, it's also our core responsibility that as we move toward digital learning, as we move toward adopting hybrid education, so we also have to transform the way we assess students. And transforming the way we assess students, we also need to put the right mechanisms to ensure that the integrity of the assessment is preserved. And that's the process that we are taking as NUST. As you have seen now, we don't have a fully fledged online assessment. And that is in development, whereby we need to put the right requisite instrument to ensure that that integrity of our assessment remain preserved. Thank you.
Now, Doctor, when we look, Prof, why am I so fixated on this, Doctor? Maybe I'm speaking it into existence for myself.
That's the highest qualification that one can ever get, so you are correct.
All right. Now, Prof, let's just take a look at the NUST graduates that we put out. What would you expect them to do at their workplaces on the first day? What ideally does that look like? What are we producing? What are they supposed to be equipped to be doing, regardless of their discipline?
Okay, thank you. In terms of NUST graduates, I strongly believe that as NUST, we have kind of a reputation in the market. And at times that reputation speaks for itself. So our students that we send to the market, they have that agility. And that is the kind of competencies that you need to succeed in the 21st century. So they have that learning agility. They can communicate effectively, and they are also team players. So irrespective of their core disciplines. So really learning agility is critical for anyone to succeed in a particular industry. And that is a critical core for students.
And I believe that is also instilled from within the holistic student support model that we have. Maybe you can share light on that.
Okay, in terms of student support, we see that there are two ways of student support, and at NUST we really invest into timely student support. Because you can have timely student support, or you just have a generic or not so much timely student support, because that is critical as it affects the student's performance. If you have a timely student support, it ensures that if there are issues, there are earlier led programs that require you to intervene and avoid the withdrawals.
Yes.
So, and for me, the key there is really that one of timely student support that we give to our students. And that mainly can come through our Dean of Students, whereby they offer kind of social support, sociological support to the students.
Yes.
And there are also other support programs that are academic oriented. And then we have tutorship programs that are academic oriented. We have tutoring clinic, just to ensure that students are kept on par on why we are here. The key challenge sometimes I see with that, and the critical part of the student support, is that especially the first years. When they leave the high school and then they come to the university, that's a completely new environment.
Yes.
And then at times they don't know what expectations, they don't know how to manage their time, they don't know how to manage peer pressure.
Very true.
And it's so important such that at the first year level, through orientations and the like, we give these supports specifically to first years, just to ensure that they manage some of those aspects.
It's like integrating them into the...
Exactly. So that at least they do not fall out in their first year of studies.
Yeah. Now, Prof, looking at quality and standards, it can sound so bureaucratic, right? How do we make sure that this academic standards protect and also shape the trust that the public has in terms of our qualifications? How do we enforce that as NUST?
Yes, it might sound bureaucratic as you are saying, but quality it's at the core of every entity, be it academia or be it any other entity outside academia. Because quality is a way of our assurance to the communities that we serve, that our programs are relevant, our programs carries meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, then you have nothing to convince the community that, yes, I am the one that you're looking for. I am the university that is producing graduates that have the required competencies for that profession. But if you are able to demonstrate that, yes, we have met the standards of the required competencies of this industry, then they can get that assurance and they are able to get our students. So you minimize uncertainties between the university and the prospective employers. You also minimize uncertainty between the university and the communities that we serve, because our students in the high school or learners in the high school, they have a choice to make. Where should I go and study?
Yes.
And for them to make that choice, you should have ticked some boxes for them to choose NUST.
Absolutely.
And many of them do choose NUST. Thank you.
No, they do. Hashtag choose NUST.
Hashtag I am NUST.
Yes. But just for curiosity's sake, I digress a little bit. But how frequently do we evaluate or review the programs that we have to make sure that we maintain that quality and standard that we speak of?
Oh, yes. In terms of maintaining, then, like I said, maintaining quality, there are many pathways. And one of the pathways, one that we have mentioned, whereby our programs are designed such that at each and every point after, let's say, a cycle of 5 years, they are reviewed.
Okay.
And when they are reviewed, we then build in any contemporary issues around those disciplines. The other aspect of keeping quality is what is called it's called curriculum intelligence. By curriculum intelligence, I mean that it's a process whereby you map the dynamics in the labor market, the national priorities, and if there are those major shifts, you then incorporate them in your curriculum to ensure that your curriculums remain relevant to those dynamics in the labor market. And again, the third aspect of maintaining quality is more on partnerships with the industry, whereby the industry become the co-creator of our curriculums. And it's one of the conditional requirements before you develop the programs. Your industry should provide input to it, and they should also provide an evidence that indeed we have evaluated this curriculum and it addressed the concerns of the industry or of the profession.
Okay.
And I mean, that's true. I think with the launch of some new courses late last year as well as this year, I think we've got a couple of qualifications in AI. I think AI is the new buzzword, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
I think it's relevant and it's interesting. Any thoughts on that?
Certainly, yeah. Like you are saying that whatever course really that we develop at NUST under the Teaching and Learning Division, it really goes through that rigor process That's three-stage tier whereby we partner with the industries to identify what do they need, how can we incorporate it, that is one. The second aspect, we do curriculum intelligence. What are the new disciplines that are required in the market for Namibia oil and gas? Then we incorporate that. AIs and the likes, it comes on board. And then the third aspect that I have spoken earlier, which then has to do that the reviewing cycle of it. Yes, we have this now. How will we ensure that it's relevant? Is the reviewing cycles to incorporate the contemporary issues in that area? Sometimes we can also say, is this course still relevant? If it's no longer relevant, then we phase it out, and then we move to the new areas of priorities, be it nationally or regionally.
All right, now, Prof, if we're looking 5 to 10 years ahead, what is your vision for this new office that you have joined for teaching and learning at NUST? And what is the difference that you hope to make locally?
If you have watched my presentations last year, and if you have also watched the State of the University address, whereby I have provided some strategic insight regarding where we want to go as divisions of teaching and learning. We really want to take a student-centered approach. We are living at a moment whereby the universities are going through a greater transformation. And I am really honored to be part of that transformation in terms of digital transformation also in terms of higher education shift in the country. As you have seen, we have just implemented the subsidized free education that has its own implication. And then there is also a new aspect of higher education minimum standards that the higher education institutions need to meet. So that's a full package. And as a Deputy Vice-Chancellor, really for teaching and learning, my focus is to ensure that we take this transformation in the next 5 years and transform NUST to come at a level that is become fully integrated, technology enabled, and industry connected. And we produce students that are employable, entrepreneurial students, and which are globally competitive. Absolutely. And that's really remained my mission.
Now that's the key word right there, globally recognized. I always say that we are a world-class university, so we need to produce as such. But thank you so much, Prof Teresia. Thank you so much for coming through and discussing with us on your vision, but also truly NUST direction in terms of teaching, learning, and technology. It was an absolute pleasure. And that is it from Nigel and Unda on Research and Innovation Matters. We will see you on the flip side.
Thank you for having me.